Hello and welcome to another episode of Hughes at 10. It is Wednesday, the 2nd of March 2022. It's my second show today. Did one earlier for Prime Minister's questions, and I think it might be worth doing shows pretty much every day throughout this crisis because there is a lot to talk about, a lot to digest, and it feels like therapy. It feels like group therapy, getting out and talking to you people watching this and having you leave your messages and basically consoling ourselves and coming to some understanding that we're not going completely mad. The only person in this situation who is completely bonkers is Vladimir Putin, Vlad the Mad. And it's growing. His insanity is growing more and more disturbing by the day, and it looks very, very likely that over the next coming days and weeks, we're going to see the kind of onslaught, brutal onslaught that we saw in Grozny, in Chechnya, and also in Aleppo in Syria. Both of them were orchestrated and put into practice by the Russian army, crushing any kind of dissent against the regime. The difference in Chechnya and the difference in Syria is that the countries that they were part of, although Chechnya was an independent republic for a little while, very little while in the mid-90s, but generally speaking, they were run by Moscow. And in Aleppo, obviously, they were run from Damascus, the capital of Syria. So, look, this is a very different situation. The Ukrainians are all united. The Russian-speaking Ukrainians, represented by their Russian-speaking president, are joining forces with everyone else in Ukraine because they feel Ukrainian. They are Ukrainian. And Russia's big lie, everyone, does that sound familiar? Is that that Ukraine is part of Russia. It should be part of Russia. When someone pointed out last week that actually 1,000 years ago, Kyiv was a thriving city, well, town, metropolis. Meanwhile, Moscow was still a forest. So yeah, I don't think that Moscow has any real claim over Kyiv in that way. And the people of Kyiv and the people of Ukraine do not want to be assimilated into Russia. They want to be run by their own people, not puppet rulers put in by Putin and his mad oligarchs. Right, I'll jump into the messages before I go any further. We have... Oh my God, we've got quite a few actually. Hello, Duke. Is anyone else coming tonight? Oh, that was me. Graham says, not me. Georgia has put application in to join the EU. The Daily Express tomorrow. EU on the verge of collapse. Yeah, this is the true story that Georgia is now going to join the EU, which is brilliant for many reasons. Not least because it means that they have a real good chance when Russia collapses, and the Russian military collapses in Ukraine, which is looking increasingly likely. I don't see a way out for Russia, even if they level the entirety of Ukraine, God forbid. I can't see a way out for Putin out of this. He's gone for death or cake, and he's chosen death. I mean, there is no way out of this. I was going to say death or glory. There's no glory in this. There's no glory in these young Russian soldiers going in to their neighboring country where many people actually speak Russian and killing women and children, bombing kindergartens, bombing hospitals, bombing transport infrastructure, bombing railway stations. They're not military targets. They're targeting civilians. They're killing their own brothers and sisters. And if Ukraine is part of Russia, then they're killing Russians. They're killing their own. And if it's not part of Russia, then get the fuck out of someone else's country, eh? But I cannot see any way out for Putin. At the end of this, he has ostracized himself from the entirety of the world. The UN had a resolution saying, I know resolutions aren't much use, but it is very indicative of how other countries are feeling. Out of the 193 members of the United Nations, only 5 voted against the resolution to say that Russia should pull out of Ukraine immediately. Those 5 were top holiday destinations: Russia, shithole; Belarus, shithole; Syria was nice, now shithole; Eritrea, the North Korea of Africa, and North Korea itself. Yeah, so we had the North Korea of Africa and North Korea. And also the North Korea of Europe, if you want to call Belarus that. It kind of is. Wow. Wow. So here we are. Okay, so who else have we got here? We've got Lanky Frank. Bro, just maybe to give me some good, maybe to give some good vibes. We are driving 20 tons of aid to the border on Saturday and trying to organise the transport for 17 tons of medical aid, also convoys. Thank you very much, Lanky, for getting in touch about that. And that is a fantastic project, and I hope it goes well. And if you need anything from me, get in touch. I, myself, am hoping to go next week to Ukraine. Well, not to Ukraine, but to Poland, and I'm not going to go to the border. We're not going to clog up the roads. We're not going to go with stuff that people don't need. We're not going to fuck it up on the way out. I'm going with Kieran, the van driver. He couriers stuff for a fucking living. He's been to every country in Europe currying stuff. I've been to every country in Europe. In fact, I've been to every country in the fucking world. Okay, so I'm getting a bit pissed off about this, because every time I go, oh, we're going to do this, they go, oh no, don't, wait. I got these people who are sitting at home doing fuck all, saying no, you shouldn't do anything, because if you do anything, you might make the situation worse. Right? Promise you, we're going to do it properly, okay? We're going to do it. We are 2 people who have done a lot of this kind of shit, okay? Maybe not this exact shit, but kind of like everything but this shit. We know what we're doing, okay? Just stop underestimating us and stop making out like we're fucking naive little dickheads who go, oh, we're just going to turn up to a war zone with some presents for the kids. You know, we're not doing that, okay? We're taking it fucking seriously. Jesus Christ. Okay, anyway, big up to Lanky Frank for organising that. That is absolutely brilliant. Late again, first round is on you, Graham. That's some Liquid Z, or maybe Liquid Z. Brian Hennessy, Brian says EU combined defence army will now happen with standardised weapons so that each country will have the same hardware, all having to be made in the EU. It will be a big future loss to the UK in trade. Oh, what a shame. It's almost as though we voted for that kind of thing when we voted out of the EU. The EU. Oh. Do you know what? It's going to be, isn't it? It's going to be the fucking EU, right? On its own. The fucking EU on its own. The EU comprising of pretty much every country in Europe. That's good. You know, every country that you'd actually want to fucking live in. And then the countries outside the EU are going to be Belarus, Moldova, and Albania. And Albania's trying to join the EU. Fuck. It's probably just going to be Belarus at the end of the day. Belarus. I'm not going to say Russia, because after this pile of shite that's going on right now, I think that we should redraw the line. The line at the moment is down the Ural Mountains, the line of Europe. This is where the border of Europe ends. This is the border of Europe and Asia. Fuck that shit. Do you know what? They're such troublesome assholes. I think that Asia can have them. You know, India, China, you know, the places that abstained in the vote to admonish Russia. Yeah. You guys can have them. You guys can have them. You can all have nice little border disputes. You have border disputes. You just have your little fights on the border. People get to die. Yeah, you get to feel like real men, eh? Not the people who are dying, because they don't get to feel anything. They're fucking dead. But you know, the people who order those children to go and die. Yeah, they're great, aren't they? So tell you what, you can have them. You can fucking have them. Russia, I think we need to just decide now that Russia is no longer a European country, because if it's going to go and invade our European brothers and sisters, it can fuck off. All right, that's all I want to say about that. Okay, moving on. I'm sad because of the war in the Ukraine. What can we do? It seems so hopeless. Says A.W. Peterson. Well, look, listen. I don't think it's hopeless. I think that it's going to be fucking awful, and I'm going to make no bones about that. What has happened in Ukraine under Putin? Well, you know, when they took Crimea, when they came into the east of the country, into the Donetsk region, and started saying they're working with the freedom fighters or some nonsense. When they blew up a Malaysian airline passenger jet with 200 people on board, murdering them all, men, women, and children, murdered over Ukraine. Shot down with a Russian missile that was given to the Ukraine separatists. So probably just Russians who have come over the fucking border. You know the areas that Russia is claiming to the east of the country. You know both of them in the 1991 referendum. It might be 93, but when they had the referendum in the early 90s for Ukrainian independence. Oh no, it was 91, wasn't it? Because it was the collapse of the Soviet Union. It was 80% in both of those regions, more than 80% for independence. Okay, so there's not like this big groundswell of support, even in those areas, for Russia taking over Ukraine. And the rest of Ukraine, there's no fucking chance in hell that they want to be told what to do for the rest of their fucking lives from fucking Moscow. Look at Moscow now. Everyone's queuing up again. Yeah, I love queuing in Moscow, they do. They used to queue for fucking stale bread for 5 fucking days. Now they want to queue up to get the rubles out of the fucking cash machine that are fucking worthless because of Vladimir Putin. This cock. So yes, there is something to look forward to, and that's the end of Putin's regime, Putin's rule over Russia, and who knows? Maybe Navalny will get out of jail and become president. Maybe he'll have a more European-centric looking way about him. Maybe we could invite him back into Europe. Maybe Russia, under Navalny, might want, if he survives, if he gets out of jail and is allowed to run for president and he wins, maybe he'll say, hey, why doesn't Russia join the EU? That'd be fucking brilliant. Great. Why doesn't Russia join NATO? Yeah, let's all team up. That'd be great. Yeah, we'll join NATO. So that if China just decide to take a little bit of Russia, they can say, hey, fuck off, China. We've got all our friends here in NATO, so don't do that. Because an attack on one of us is an attack on all of us. You never know. Like I say, it could be very soon, in the next few years. You could see every country, literally every country in Europe, part of the EU, apart from the UK. Well, sorry, Wangland. What's left? Wangland. I've got the Wangland Cup here. What is left? If you can look at that closely, it's actually got the Welsh Dragonite doing a face palm. Should have said last night it was St. David's Day yesterday. The patron saint of Wales. No one makes a big deal about St. David's Day. I feel like it should. My second name is David because the day after my birthday was St. David's Day. I don't come from a particularly religious family, but they just thought it was nice. Okay, so I'll come back to the messages in a moment. I just want to read something by Garry Kasparov, the chess master. Putin's war on Ukraine has entered its next phase, one of destruction and the slaughter of civilians. It is also part of Putin's world war, a war on the civilized world of international law, democracy, and any threat to his power, which he declared long ago. The free world's denial of this war and decades of appeasement allowed Putin to threaten and conquer abroad while turning Russia into a police state. I couldn't agree more. The price to stop him has gone up every time he has advanced unchallenged. Ukrainians are paying that price in blood. If Putin is not stopped now, not prevented from destroying Ukraine and committing genocide against his people, there will be a next time, and it will be in NATO with an unprecedented nuclear threat. Do not let Putin escalate again in a time and place of his choosing. Everyone is quoting my 2015 book, Winter is Coming, and saying I was right and listen to Kasparov. But will you still listen when I say this will take sacrifice and risk? Not just wheat and gas prices, not just empty chalets and unemployed lobbyists. Easy is over. Or you will say that I'm irrational, blinded by hate, as I heard in 2015. Hope not. Putin must be stopped because the unthinkable is now the possible. The world has awoken at long last, and many steps I recommended last week are happening, but it's not enough. Garry Kasparov's recommendations, here they are. 1. I cannot demand NATO attack Russian forces directly, but I can speak from history and knowledge of Putin. A dictator who has already crossed the line cannot be prevented from escalating with restraint. If he destroys Ukraine, he won't stop. 2. We are not trying to appeal to the murderer in his bunker in the Urals. The message is to those who carry out his orders. Will they? Do they wish to die? Putin will escalate anyway if he is not stopped now. He will, as he always has before, and the price will be higher. 3. Send Russia to the technological Stone Age. No support, no parts, no services. Oil boycotts aren't necessary if oil tech is unavailable. The industry will grind to a halt. This means a war footing in sacrificing, retooling, and increasing production to substitute. It's war. 4. It's always tragic that ordinary people suffer, but they are not being bombed in their homes like Ukrainians. Every element of Russian society that can pressure Putin must know they have to choose between him and everything else. Some will cling to him, but for how long? 5. Clear message to Russian generals that they will suffer annihilation if 1 inch of NATO is touched. Send UKR every weapon, Send Ukraine every weapon, including the jets that have been blocked, as if Putin cares about the difference. Stop guessing about his thoughts and do what is needed. 6. Every day Ukraine endures gives opportunity to communicate this catastrophe to the only people who can really stop Putin, the Russian people. From oligarchs to commanders to protesters. Let all in the power vertical know they will be treated as war criminals. They are. 7. Leave nothing in reserve. Speed is of the essence to stop payments and catch them and their assets before they hide. Boris Johnson, who's given these oligarchs a month to get their money out the country. Dickhead. Threats like, he doesn't know what's coming, don't work if Putin doesn't believe you. Show him and show Russians there's no way back with Putin. Never. 8. Root out the corrupt politicians, businessmen and dark money that corrupted a generation to turn a blind eye or serve authoritarian regimes. Follow the donations, payments, gifts, influence. Hold them accountable. Down with Putin and his appeasers. Glory to Ukraine. P.S. to all officials and media, stop calling Putin president. He is a dictator. Words have power. He does not deserve a democratic title. Fuck your style guide. Russian dictator Vladimir Putin. There you go. That's what we need to do. Okay. Oh my God. Thank you. Thank you, Brian Hennessy. €50. Thank you very much for that super chat, mate. That's amazing. Thank you. Brilliant. Someone saying Kaliningrad part of Asia. Listen. Let's just take Kaliningrad back while they're not. Should we take it back for Poland? Or was it part of Greater Lithuania? It was Poland, wasn't it? It was part of Poland, Kaliningrad. I've forgotten what it used to be called. But it was part of Prussia. It was part of the Prussian, it was part of Prussia once, Kaliningrad. Someone knows what it used to be called, let me know in the comments and I'll go, yes, that's what it used to be called. I don't have the right Lonely Planet to hand. I've got Southern Africa. That's not really going to help me. Oh, wow, it's invisible. Look, invisible face on my book. That's kind of cool. But yeah. Okay, so moving on. Hello, mate. Plans went to shit because the kids refused to go to sleep. I need a man bunker. I need a man. Stop calling me bunker. Why do I think that Putin will get away scot-free and will do? I don't think he will. I don't think he will, Kevin, because he's gone too far with this. He's gone too far. I can't see him get away with it. I hope to God I'm right. I usually take the more kind of like realistic, shall we say, or depressing outlook on things to go, oh, it is going to be shit. But I think in this circumstance, I do believe, looking for it at the lens of history and the amount of shit that Putin has managed to get away with up to this point, he's never done anything this audacious before, and I don't see him surviving this. He can't. He just can't. Because once the ordinary Russians start hurting, once the oligarchs start hurting, once people can't make their mortgage repayments, once people are on the street because they've got no jobs, then people are going to rise up. And there's 144 million Russians. You need less than 1% of those Russians to have 1 million people. And the Russian army can't stop that many people. They just fucking can't. Hey Graham, what do you think about Germany stepping up? Says Kung Kuki. I think it's fucking fantastic. I mean, amazing stuff from Germany, straight out the gates, they cancelled Nord Stream 2, which is the second gas pipeline, which has been built, by the way. It's been fucking built. But they were going through the process of giving it approval to make sure that it was all right, nobody kinks in it or whatever. And they've sacked it off. They said, no, we're not going to do it, which is going to harm the German economy and it will harm the German people. But it was a sacrifice they were willing to make. They have upped the amount they're spending on military equipment. And also, I mean, this has dragged Switzerland into it. Switzerland, the famously neutral country of Switzerland, the country that didn't even join the fucking UN until 2002, I don't think, has come down and said, on the side of Ukraine, and said, this is disgraceful. This is absolutely disgraceful. And do you know what? When you see these Russian fuckers on the TV and on the radio, and you hear them on the radio, and they're saying, oh, but you kill 1 million people in Iraq, and it's like, whataboutism. This is the Soviet Union's playbook. Whataboutism. Yeah, we're doing a bad thing, but what about that, eh? This is something that used to happen in the 1950s, right? When the civil rights movement was starting in America and the Russians were having to queue for bread and they were saying, oh, this is a bit shit. Why am I doing this job and I'm not getting paid for it? You know, why am I digging a hole in the ground and then someone else is coming in to fill it in just so everyone has a job? Because that's a whole crazy thing that stupid people do when they get into power. They go, everyone needs a job. Everyone needs a job. What are you going to do? Nothing. You just literally got to do a job that doesn't need to be done or something that can be done by a robot. Why? I don't know. Jobs are great. We should all have a job. Everyone should have a job, no matter how shit and demeaning and demoralizing. We should all have a fucking job. That'd be great for everyone's mental health, won't it? So basically, in the 1950s, everyone's queuing up and they're going, this is a bit shit. And then the Russian authorities say, yeah, you think that's shit? Look what's happening in America. Look what's happening in the UK. They've got one of the most famous engineer scientists, brilliant mathematical mind, Alan Turing, on the back of the new £20 note. And is it £20 or is it £50? I don't know. One of them. And he has had to kill himself by eating a poisoned apple because they won't accept him being gay. Not that they were very accepting of homosexuals in the Soviet Union, but you know what I mean. They're like, oh, well, you think we're bad? Look at that. Which is the shittest argument ever. Someone put on my Facebook today, and if you're watching this, I was going to post a picture of me at the sign for Yemen and the welcome to Yemen and the sign saying welcome to Ukraine, and say, can we all be concerned about? Can we be concerned about two things at once? Can we do that? Yes, we can. I am still concerned about Saudi Arabia dropping bombs on Yemen. I'm still concerned about that. I'm still concerned about Israeli war crimes in Palestine. I'm still concerned that Palestinians are amassing weapons that they're going to fire at the Israelis, and that whole bloody vicious cycle's got to go round again. That does concern me. Just because I'm talking about Ukraine at the moment, because this is just happened. This is news. This is unprecedented as well. Doesn't mean that I'm not. I don't have concern for other things that are happening in the world. Bolsonaro being in charge of Brazil, Duterte being in charge in the Philippines. These things bother me as well. So you can't just go, oh well, there's that thing and there's that thing, and you have a concern about one thing or you're concerned about the other. It's not a zero-sum game. Concern is not a zero-sum game, and compassion isn't a zero-sum game. But this whataboutism that you're seeing on the radio, hearing on the radio, and seeing on the TV. All of the Russians that are being interviewed on Newsnight or on Victoria Derbyshire, they are doing the same fucking rigmarole of, we're doing this bad thing, but you did these bad things. And it's like, you're doing them now. You're literally doing these things, and you're to your own brothers and sisters in Ukraine, and you are saying that it's justified because 20 years ago, America did some fucking stupid thing by going into Iraq. And it's like, what? Honestly, and this winds me up. And I often talk about it, this analogy. If you're walking down the street and you see someone over the road mugging an old lady, like just literally grabbing the purse out of her hand. And so what you do in response is you punch the person next to you. What good did that do? Well, I had to do something. So I punched the person next to me. Yeah. Meanwhile, the thief gets away from the other side of the road. I mean, it's that daft. It's that bananas in the way people think. It's like, oh, you can only be concerned about one thing at a time. And a bad thing in the past makes it okay for bad things to happen now. They justify two wrongs do make a right. How many people have died in the Holocaust? More people died in the Holocaust. So everything goes now. You can just use that as a defense if you ever get caught being a mad fucking serial killer and chopping up 47 rent boys and put them in the fucking freezer. You can say, well, it's okay because 6 million Jews were killed in the war, and so that's more people were killed in the war. So because that happened, and if Chewbacca comes from Endor, then if he's a Wookiee, then you must acquit. And you're just like, what the mental gymnastics of these motherfuckers? To like, first of all, they know what they're doing. But the people they convince, I mean, Jesus, imagine being that dense. Talking about being dense, did anyone hear about, what's his name? Andrew Neil, you know, that slug man who owns the Spectator magazine, or the editor of the Spectator magazine. You know, the slug man who was so... all he wanted to do with his life, he built up this career spanning decades, working at the BBC and working at the Spectator, but all he wanted to do was launch a really low-rent, grotty little news service with the production values of scat porn. Don't tell me how I know that. The lighting as well. And he wanted to do his show called Woke Watch. That's all he wanted to do with his life. That's what he wanted to be remembered for. Turns out one of the big backers of GB News, was, a Russian oligarch linked to Putin. And either Neil's not a very good fucking journalist, or he knew that. Hashtag just saying. Hey, listen, thank you for the massive super chat at the top there. I got 50 quid super chat there, which is wonderful. Super chats are open, and I just want to say a big hello to Marcus. Hey, Marcus, how you doing, mate? Haven't seen you for a while. This is All Shorts is live on the chat here. He's saying bonsoir to Bayerberg. And Pete Crosby in Liverpool wants to know, hey Marcus, enjoying your shows, dude, and geez, obviously, how about the potatoes? Enjoyed that, planting myself on Monday, missing Ginger Island. I love the fact that Pete's missing Ginger Island, and me and Marcus are like, just recovering. But yeah, good to see you, mate. Boris is a huge bastard, which is the best name ever. I think I might change my name by deed poll to Boris is a huge bastard. And then I'll get a checkbook in that name. Be great, write checks to people, and that's my name. Many, sadly, are that effing dense, indeed. RT is off the air, waiting for GBBs to drop, indeed. Breaking, Japan wants the Kuril Islands back. They're the islands between Japan and Russia. That should be interesting. So basically, I was going to say about Ukraine, about Georgia. It's a really good time for them to join the EU, because if it all goes tits up for the Russians, which I think it will over time, it won't happen overnight, I don't think, but when it does go tits up, it will go massively tits up for the Russians. They will have to crawl back to the Western world on their knees and say, please, help us, like pathetic little bastards that they are, like they had to do in the 90s when Russia was bailed out by the USA and their allies to get it off its arse because it was a disgusting little basket case where everyone had to queue for 5 days for stale bread. Because of the bastards in charge. Not because of the Russian people, they're all right. The bastards in charge had made it that way. Because Russia has only ever really known autocracy. It's only ever known autocracy. It had the Tsars, then it had 6 months of democracy, which didn't really go anywhere because it was wiped out by the communists who took over and ran the state as a totalitarian communist state in which you weren't allowed to burp, fart, or go for a shit without the government's permission. They told you how you could live your life, what job you had to have, where you had to live. Basically, it was totalitarian in that they ruled over the totality of your life, told you what you were allowed to say, told you what you were allowed to think. It wasn't very nice. And then that crumbled after 50 years because of, no longer than that, 70 years, because it was a shit system. And people were like, why are we sending people into space? Why are we spending all this money on nuclear weapons that we can't use when people are starving here in Russia? That doesn't make any sense. So the Soviet Union fell apart, quite rightly. And at that point, you know what we could have done? We could have fucking invaded. America could have. People forget this, but we talk about America bombing Japan, and obviously that was an horrific thing to do. I don't know if it was a war crime, and I'm sure that we can have a big argument about it, because I think if we're going to say that's a war crime, then obviously the firebombing of Dresden would also be counted as a war crime, because Dresden, it wasn't where the Nazi HQ was. Don't think there was any big factories there that were, being built. I think that they basically just decided to destroy a historic city. And about as many people died in that attack as died in the attacks on Hiroshima and Nagasaki separately. But the thing is, the USA, after the Second World War, it was the only country in the world with nuclear weapons. For a good few years, they got it taken over everywhere. It's like that bit in Better Call Saul where he's got like 1.6 million on his desk. And he says, "What are you doing?" He goes, "The right thing." And he gives it to the authorities. We had 1.6 million on the desk. Why don't we just skip town? Go and live in Acapulco. What the... It's like that. Why didn't America just take over the world? At that point, it could have done. No one was gonna argue against it. No one else had nuclear weapons. Everyone else was on their knees pretty much because of the Second World War. America wasn't. America was doing fine. America did really well out the Second World War, as we saw in the boom years, the 1950s and 60s. But they had nuclear weapons and no one else did. Imagine if Russia was the first country to have developed nuclear weapons. Oh, sorry, the USSR was the first country to develop nuclear weapons. Well then, do you really think they would have gone, do you know what? We're just going to let the West be the West. No, they fucking wouldn't. They would have invaded. They would have fucking invaded everywhere and said, right, we're taking over and you're all going to be communists now. And then the same opportunity came along again in the 1990s. Russia was on its knees. It needed to take one of the biggest loans in human history out from the Americans, from the IMF, the World Bank, in order to get back on its feet. America should have told them to fuck off. America said, no, we're not giving you any money. You've made our life a misery for the last 50 years in this stupid Cold War. So, suffering you jocks. I'll tell you what, we'll give you some money if you give us all your nuclear weapons. And I'll tell you what, we'll just take over your country and change all your letters so they're Roman letters and not Cyrillic letters. You shouldn't really be using Cyrillic letters anyway because they were originally from Greece, even though the Greeks don't use them. Spoiler alert, I ain't seen Better Call Saul, said Wayne Maker. So, look, that was an episode from like 6 years ago. I mean, come on. What have you been doing the last 6 years? You could have watched come on. Get with the program, Wayne. Get with the program. Chewbacca is a Wookiee from the planet Kashyyyk. You say shit, he came from Endor. Again, I'm getting tooled up and coming to fill you in. Hashtag nerdish wanker. Yeah, but you've spelled Kashyyyk incredibly wrong. It's spelled like this. It's spelled Kashyyk. That's how it's spelled. That's how Kashyyyk is spelled. No, you're spelling it. What are you doing? Like voice identification, whatever it's called. Graham Haller says Russian police have arrested a 90-year-old woman, survivor of the siege of Leningrad, as she was protesting against Dobby the war criminal. Oh, I like that. Dobby the war criminal. He does look like Dobby, doesn't he? Dresden was it's like Otto from Deep Space Nine and Dobby have somehow got it on, and he's their bastard love child. Dresden was a major communications hub, road and railways connecting. All right then, fuck it. Maybe there's some justification then. Apparently, the high command in America, and I don't want to derail the conversation and talk about the Second World War, but apparently the high command in America wanted to bomb Kyoto, and one of the generals, or maybe the president, argued against it because they'd been on holiday there and said it was really nice and they didn't want to wreck it. Kyoto being the old capital of Japan, and also an anagram of Tokyo. True story. Rumours that Romania has aircraft shot down over the Black Sea. If it's true, then it's musketeer rules, says Ted B. Hoy. Yeah, I've read about that, but I also read that there was bad weather conditions, so that might have been the situation. But yeah, a Romanian aircraft has gone missing, and the rescue helicopter also went missing as well. Duke Venture said, now I'm just imagining Putin with long ears and nose. Yes. Harry Potter must not go to Hogwarts. Russia shouldn't be humiliated after this. This would have repercussions about 20 years later. We do have examples for that in the past. We should have left them to their own devices 30 years ago in the first place. Well, I don't know what you're saying there, Context, because it would have been humiliating for Russia to try and get itself off its knees in the 1990s had it not been bailed out by the USA. Which is a more magnanimous ending of the Cold War than would have been expected if the USSR had actually won the Cold War. I don't think that would have resulted in the USSR giving economic help to America. I don't think it would have gone that way, but that's me. But we shouldn't. Oh, sorry, Context. You're saying we shouldn't have left them to their own devices 30 years ago in the first place. Well, we didn't really leave them to their own. Well, we did in a way, because we went, oh, well, we'll just get the money and the flowers will grow. And the thing is about democracy, it's very fragile. It's very fragile, and it needs support. It needs nurturing from other places that spread the example of a rules-based order onto the rest of them. So this is why the EU is such a fucking amazing project, and I'll fight anyone who says differently, mostly because they're a fucking dickhead and they probably deserve a punch or two. But the fact that the EU has it in the rules to be in the EU, that you've got to get rid of the death penalty. You can't have an unelected fucking bunch of twats making laws in your country if you want to join the EU. Britain could get away with that because it joined the EEC back in 1973, but for new ascension countries that want to join the EU, there are certain economic and political points that you have to reach. You can't. They're not just someone who takes anybody on. You have to better yourself. So Turkey for many years had the death penalty, and they got rid of it because they were trying to get into the EU. I don't think Russia are ever going to get into the EU now, considering what's happened in recent years. But at the time they said, right, we want to get in the EU. How do we do it? And the EU said the first thing you need to do is get rid of the death penalty. And they went, okay, right, you are. And they got rid of the death penalty. And that was the EU soft power. No invasion required. No blood, guts needed to be spilt. They literally just said, look, do you want to be part of this amazingly successful club? If you do, you can't be going around killing your own citizens, because there's a good chance you might kill the wrong one, and you can't take that back. You cannot take that. You can never take that back. There you go. Are you and others willing to starve the Russian people to get them to revolt against Putin? Asks Jerry. Good question. No. Not at all. I don't think we need to starve the Russian people. I think we just need to starve the oligarchs of their money and their yachts and their private jets and their chalets and their huge, huge townhouses in Belgravia worth £11 million. We need to get rid of all that, take the toys away from the oligarchs and let the oligarchs do the work before it gets to a point that the Russian people are actually starving. But yes. And Draconic saying, do you have a better strategy? Well, no, I don't think the strategy is to let the Russian people starve. I think the strategy is to go after the oligarchs. Unfortunately, we haven't got men and women in charge of this country. We've got gobshites. We've got absolute creature gobshite motherfuckers hatched from eggs from another fucking planet gobshite, who are in charge of this country. Instead of bringing sanctions against these motherfuckers straight away, that we're waiting a month. The EU's done it straight away because the EU is an efficient, well-oiled machine when it wants to be. Britain is a rickety old bag of shit at the moment, and one month. So Roman Abramovich can sell his football club. He's got to give his money to charity. Yeah, I believe that when I see it. It should just be taken over. It should be like, no, sorry, mate, you backed the wrong horse. So we're kamikaze planes. I hope not. The closest thing an Englishman ever got to democracy was a pirate ship. That's very true, Ted Behoy. I talked about this when I did my episode of Hughes the World about the Bahamas, and I talked about the Pirate Republic that was set up there in the early 1700s, I think. And it lasted for over a decade, and yeah, it was incredibly democratic. And on board the pirate ship, things were democratic. Everything was split equally amongst the pirates, and everyone got a vote. And women were allowed to be pirates, and people of different ethnicities and people of different religions were allowed to be pirates as well. True story. Pete Cosby, if Putin dies, say, who are in the dark wings waiting to take over from? Does he have a stooge? I don't think so, because I think that anyone who had the ability to take over from him on his side has probably been gotten rid of by Putin. He's probably fallen out with him because he tries to keep only weak people around him so they don't kill him and take over. So it's a strategy for keeping him in power, but he doesn't give a fuck once he's dead. He doesn't care what happens next. So yeah, what happens to the rest of Russia and the rest of the world, to be honest with you, which is very disturbing, the fact that this crazy motherfucker has got nuclear weapons, which I do believe he's willing to use. I do honestly believe he's willing to use them. Graham, wasn't asking you because I agree with you, challenging Jerry because it sounded like a trollish thing to say. Well, I don't know. I mean, like, it's a good question, actually. I don't think it's particularly trollish to say, is that the only way we can get out of this mess? By starving 144 million people? No, obviously that would be fucking awful. And I do believe that the way around this is by doing what people have been clamoring for, many people have been clamoring for a long time, which is to freeze the assets of everyone around Putin. So Putin is the richest man in the world. He's the richest person in the world. However, unlike the likes of Elon Musk and Jeff Bezos, Putin has given all of his money, nearly all of it, to his mates. And he says, right, here you go. Here's $1 billion, but half of it is mine. And they go, oh, thanks very much. And they have it sitting in their bank account in the Cayman Islands or in London or in some other fucking godforsaken shithole money laundering place. And they sit on the money for Putin. And Putin never needs that money. He says, hey, can I have the $500 million back? And he's like, yeah, sure, here you go. Have that back. So going after his little people around the world is the way to do it, because then you're attacking his money and you're attacking theirs as well. Jerry says, the oligarchs don't care. They know they are stuck in Moscow for the rest of their life. People revolt against the monarchy when they are hungry. Yeah. I mean, there's a difference between being starving and being hungry, obviously. So, yeah, hopefully we get to get rid of Putin before that point. But the thing is this, right? Say that the plucky Ukrainians beat the shit out of the Russian invaders. Say it takes years. Say it's another Vietnam, and they eventually they drive the Russians out, and Russia is isolated on the world stage. It's been ostracized by the world community. No one wants to trade with it. No one wants to do anything with it. And then Putin dies or is deposed or whatever. Whoever takes over, right, is going to be left with this country that they are going to have to come up with a tremendous amount of goodwill to get back in the world's good books after what they've done here. And that's going to take a lot of time and effort. But I'll tell you one thing. When this is all said and done, I can't see NATO invading Russia. Can you? All these dickheads like the likes of Farage and Corbyn saying, "Oh, it's military. It's NATO aggression has caused this. NATO expansionism has caused this," which is absolute fucking nonsense. Countries like Lithuania, Estonia, and Latvia, and Romania and Bulgaria wanted to join NATO to protect themselves against other countries invading them. That is it. To protect themselves, not so they could go and invade other countries. You don't have people in North Macedonia going, "Ooh, we're part of NATO now. Oh, great, let's go and invade Kosovo." It's not happening. It's not going to happen because they're part of NATO. And now Kosovo wants to become part of NATO as well, which is fair enough. Maybe one day Serbia, which is actually, trying to get into the EU now, maybe they'll want to be part of NATO. And then Russia will be seriously on its own in this continent with just one man in Belarus, one very unpopular man, Lukashenko, supporting them. When people say, "Oh, Belarus is supporting Russia," what they really mean is Lukashenko is supporting Putin. This is Putin's war. This is Putin's baby. And when Putin loses this war, he has to pay for his crimes, either in The Hague or in a coffin. I don't care. One of the two. But he's not going to get away with it this time. I do not believe that. Akbar Ali says, best Putin offer Putin a nice retirement on St. Helena. If he thinks he's going to get killed anyway, he might use nuclear weapons. Well, they don't put people to death in The Hague. But what's he going to do? What will be the strategy with the nuclear weapons? What will it achieve? If he uses them against Ukraine, then I mean, that's a tough sell for the people of Russia. Yeah, I had to. They bombed themselves with their own nuclear bomb that they didn't have. Somehow, you know, the Jewish guy who's in charge is actually who was democratically elected on a mandate to join NATO and the EU. But you know what? He's a big Nazi, really, even though he's Jewish and democratically elected and has never done any Nazi things like, I don't know, invading some other person's fucking country. It's Putin, who has invaded in his time, Chechnya, which, as I say, it was a breakaway republic for a little while. He has invaded Ukraine in Crimea and in Donetsk in the east. And also he's invaded Georgia in Transnistria and in South Ossetia and Abkhazia. And also argument for Transnistria, if I'm saying that right, in Moldova, which is a Russian exclave in the middle of Moldova, because they're being supported by the Russians to be their own thing when they're not. They're just part of Russia. Jerry says, Russia won't last 6 months at this rate of expenditure. They will only have gas and oil income seriously reduced, very hard to get paid. Russia is going bankrupt in 4 weeks. Hopefully so, Jerry. Hopefully so. And and look, I just hope to God that no, I don't believe in God, so I hope to goodness that Putin is brought to heel in the next few weeks, not by NATO, not by the EU, not by the US, not even by the plucky Ukrainians, but is brought to heel by his own people. Because they're not North Korea. The Russians can say, oh, we're stopping television. We're making you watch these things on television. We're going to block your access to certain internet sites. Oh, fuck off. Everyone under the age of 50 has a fucking VPN. They can go and see whatever they fucking want. And it's a lot harder to keep the lid on the country than it is on a much smaller country like North Korea, which has been easier to keep in the Stone Age by its dictatorial dictators, because they went into that Stone Age mindset in the 1950s, before computers, before the internet, before mobile phones. So, yeah, but Russia hasn't. Russia and Russians, they like traveling the world. I've met a lot of Russians traveling. I've Russian friends who are now posting stuff on social media supporting Ukraine and very, very upset about what's happening to not just Ukraine, but their own country as well. What's happening to Russia at the moment. They're very upset that a crazy man in charge, an oligarch, a dictator who has somehow won every election for the last 20 years, 22 years, magically, even though he's not that good at being a fucking leader. If he was, Russia would be one of the richest countries in the world right now, when it isn't. It has a per capita income that is so middle of the road. It's almost painful. This is the biggest country in the world. The biggest country in the world with some of the biggest stocks of oil, of gas, and it's one of just, you know, it's doing all right. It's an emerging economy. It's not an advanced economy. It's nowhere near an advanced economy. It could be under a better ruler, over someone who didn't obsess over their image and being in charge for the next 100 years and invading their neighbours. Like, Russia's not already big enough. It's already the biggest fucking country in the world. But, oh no, it needs to be slightly bigger. Trying to subdue their neighbours. Not getting on with anybody. It's painful. It's really, really painful. Kate Cannon says, Putin is NATO's best salesman. I can't argue with you there. Jerry says, how will the Russian people react to Facebook shutting down all apps in Russia due to the war? Do you think that would go over well? I would rather, instead of Facebook doing that, I would rather Facebook clamp down on fake fucking news. Why is it that I can't... I don't know about Facebook, because I don't really use Facebook that much anymore. I just sometimes put pictures on there these days. But on Twitter, when I see fake news, especially when it was the height of the pandemic and people were putting bullshit up on Twitter, why was there no fake news? I couldn't find the fake news. It just... that's all I wanted. Report this tweet. Why? Fake news. You got to say, it's harmful or misleading. And then they go, why is it? I always put, when people put lies about medicine, Dan, I said that they're encouraging self-harm. They're encouraging people to harm themselves. Now, I'm suppose the dickheads who run Twitter think self-harm is just cutting yourself with a knife. But no, self-harm can take a lot of forms. And one of them is denying yourself life-saving medicine because some twat on the internet told you to, because reasons, indeed. Hitler said that Germany did not deserve to survive and ordered everything destroyed in the end and took a massive huff. Putin could do the same. Russia's a very big country. I don't think he's going to turn his nuclear weapons on himself, and I don't see what targets. Like, what would he target if he did go for a nuclear strike? Would he go for Ukraine? Would he be that mad? And it depends on which way the fucking wind is blowing. That could kill a lot of people in Russia as well. With the fallout, I mean, shit. I just can't see it. I hope I'm terribly. I hope I'm terribly right about this, and that I believe he could use them, but I just hope that he won't, and I don't believe he will, because if someone can explain the thinking behind it, like, okay, you can say he's mad and have that whole, is that Nixon who said, the madman theory that you present yourself as a lunatic and then no one knows what you're going to do and everyone tries to appease you. I think that's what Trump was trying to do when he was president, but I don't think he did it very well. Although it did appear mad, but not in control mad, just mad, and ineffectual, and fawning lackey for authoritarian gobshites like the dictator Putin. Too many apologists supporting Putin and whataboutery online, especially on Facebook. It has really made me use Facebook less. Fuck up uni. I gave up on Facebook during the pandemic because they were just allowing so much bullshit to float around, and I just couldn't be arsed getting into arguments. I've got this attitude now. I've got 5,000 friends on Facebook. I just go, I don't need you. I don't know. As long as my mum doesn't post something that I find objectionable, I just block everyone. I'm so sorry, that's bullshit. I'm not going to argue with you because there's absolutely no point in arguing with you. I'm never going to bring you around to my point of view. So fuck it. I'm just going to block you, and that's what I do on Twitter as well. I just block people. I used to respond. I used to go to their profile and see if they're a real person. If they're a real person and they weren't a boss, I'll just take time out of my busy fucking schedule to type out 140 fucking letters to say, not letters, I mean characters, to say that you're wrong because of blah, blah, blah. And you wouldn't get anywhere. And anyway, I'll just descend into insulting their mother. So it was pointless. So all I do now is I just go down and see one of these fucking things. I block them. Or what I sometimes do, which is always fun, is you insult them in the most horrific way, and then you block them so they can't report you for insulting them. That's always fun. Just put stars for all the swear words so people know what you're saying, but you don't get caught out by the algorithm. Result. Kevin Haggerty says Elon Musk has allowed Ukraine to use the SpaceX Starlink satellite, which means Russia can't block their internet very easily, which is good. First step before nukes are thermobaric weapons. I've heard about this, Pineapple Boy, because apparently Russia has used thermobaric. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. I'm probably not. Weapons already in Ukraine. These are weapons that are banned. I think under the Geneva Convention. I could be wrong, but I know they are banned weapons, and it's a war crime. Launching them on anywhere is a war crime. Putin is a war criminal, and he should stand trial for his crimes. That's it. And don't forget, there's no way out of this for Russia now, because no one's going to lift those sanctions until A, the Russians get the fuck out of Ukraine, and B, Putin gives himself up. Those are going to be the demands. That's it. Everything else probably just be as it was. I can't see any demands over that. Just get out of Ukraine and get rid of Putin. We can worry about South Ossetia and Abkhazia, Transnistria and Crimea maybe later. But just for the get-go now, we need to get rid of Putin. And we need Navalny out of jail, and possibly him and somebody else, I don't know, standing for election. Actual Democrats standing for election instead of wannabe dictators. He would drop one on Kiev just to kill Vladimir Zelensky. He would then take a diet, without the tea. Jerry, I really hope that's not the case. Your thoughts on the Everton links with Russia? I think it's absolutely disgraceful. Now, let me be clear that the guy who's associated with Everton is someone who's given money to the club. He's not the owner of the club, but he's a good chum of the Iranian owner of Everton. And yeah, divest the motherfucker. Get him out of there. Just block him, sanction him, whatever you need to do. Just get rid of him. He should not be in any way, shape or form connected with the People's Club. Number 3 says, thank you very much, £5 from number 3. There's 2 petitions to sign, one to waive the visa restrictions for refugees, another to investigate Russian interference in the UK. Oh, brilliant. Okay, well, listen, I'll tell you what, I will actually put the links up to them now, because I know you can't put links up, I don't think. I think some people can put links up who are on there. I think you have to be a moderator? A mod or a rocker or something in order to do that. I'll just write petition to waive visa. Oh, hang on, I've got one here. Oh my god, do you know what? I just started typing in the word petition and this came up because I've already signed it. Okay, this is to waive the visa requirements for Ukrainian refugees. This now has 99,301 signatures. So your signature might be the 100,000th signature, which means that the government has to consider this for debate in Parliament. So please have a look at that. And also, I'm going to just give you another link now, but I haven't signed this one, so it might take a little bit longer for me to find. Petition Russian interference. If you go onto my Twitter account at Every Country, pinned on the top is a clip from my roundup of 2017. I did my own Charlie Brooker style 2017 wipe, and in it there was a clip about Russian interference in British politics and American politics, and the fact that it all was cooked up and decided on in 1997 when Alexander Dugin wrote a book called The Foundations of Geopolitics, and all of the stuff that's happened in the last 25 years has in Russia has come about because they've been following the handbook of The Foundations of Geopolitics. Hold a public inquiry into Russian interference in British politics. This only has 5,000 signatures, so maybe we could get this a little bit going up a little bit higher. Hi, says Dave Moore. Later, Ivan, does anyone mention today's Political X video about Anonymous hacking Russia? Interesting if true. I saw a thing about Anonymous a couple of days ago where they said they were hacking into Russia. I haven't seen anything today. But yeah, Anonymous also came up with a tip about leaving a review for every single cafe, bar, restaurant, outhouse, shithouse in the whole of Russia, and basically saying that it should be that the meal was spoiled by the fact that Putin invaded Ukraine. I didn't realise there was Hughes Tennessee, so I just arrived. Is this an unscheduled or emergency broadcast, says Adrian. Well, no, I was doing Prime Minister's questions this afternoon, and I said at the end of the show, does anyone want me to do a show tonight? Because obviously there's still a lot to talk about with the invasion of Ukraine, and 5 people said they were going to watch. They wanted me to do this, so I thought, 5 people are going to watch, so I thought I'd do it because I'm nice like that. But I'm going to wrap up now because it's nearly 11:10. I've got loads of messages coming in. You've still got time, but you're very quick to throw in a super chat. Thank you very much for the super chats tonight. They've been wonderful, and much goodness received there. Asperger's Europe says, let's hope that Svetlana Tikhan Sorokaya can soon take her rightful place as president of Belarus, followed by their ascension to the Council of Europe and then the EU and NATO. Yes, that would be fantastic. Thermo weapons were first heavily used in the taking of Fallujah, Iraq, which is disgraceful. That's from Lanky Frank. The Frankopuni, Russia perhaps needs the spirit of Klaus von Stauffenberg to rid themselves of Putin. Stauffenberg famously led an albeit failed assassination attempt on Hitler, Operation Valkyrie. There's a movie called Valkyrie starring Tom Cruise, if you want to watch that. Jerry Watson says the money seized and property confiscated, including the state bank investments, should go to Ukraine to rebuild and compensate the family. Yeah, absolutely. I agree with that, Jerry. That's a good point. Kevin says, considering all the tech we have now, surely it'd be possible to get to Putin. I don't think Russia will mourn him. They will complain, but words mean nothing. Yeah. Considering all the tech we have, yeah. And come on the bin tomorrow. We can do what we were meant to do tonight. Tomorrow, says Wayne. I might do that, Wayne, but I am going to be back tomorrow for Hughes of the World. We're heading to Congo, where I will be talking about my experiences in Congo. I was thrown in jail in Congo for 6 days, and I'll be telling you all about that and the history of Congo and the story of Congo and some of the cool things about Congo. This is the Republic of, not the Democratic Republic of. That is a different Congo. I'm talking about the Democratic Republic of. No, I'm talking about the Republic of Congo, not the Democratic Republic of Congo. Tomorrow night at 10 o'clock. So please join me for that. Jerry says £2, €2 US dollars. Thanks for coming back to answer our questions, says Jerry. No, don't thank me. Thank the internet for existing and allowing me to do this kind of crazy shit from the comfort of my own freezing cold basement. I should wear a coat maybe tomorrow. Number 3 says, yes, probably one per day now. So I said in the spirit of, yeah, conga in the Congo. Jesus, David. I thought you'd pick up on that. Agent says, Putin will rule nothing but a throne of bayonets, bombs, ever more imprisonment, and violent loyal gangs. Well, there's the hope. I want him to just sit on his throne of shit until someone comes and, what can I say? The Ides of March are coming up. It's the 15th, is it? The Ides of March? Yeah, it's coming up. Note it in your diaries, and then we can all get pissed on St. Patrick's Day and celebrate. Hi, Graham, says Alexis. Thank you very much, Alexis, for the £2 super chat there. Thank you very much. I'm just going to be very nice. I'm going to be very, very nice to Wayne and give him the link to the the Discord server. Okay? Oh, I need to connect to my phone. But everybody else, apart from Wayne, I owe Wayne, so I'm going to let him on. But everyone else has to become a patron of me on Patreon, a patron, or a YouTube member in order to get access to this wonderful new server, which is the Discord, the new Discord server. On Bongo Night Box. Oh God. Stay safe and hit the like button, says Just Me and Vids. Yes, please hit the like on the way. I always forget to say that. Let me just... okay, so Wayne, if you're watching, I'm going to send you the link to Discord on WhatsApp. If you want to head over there now, I will be there in a moment. And please, can everyone go to the new server today, to the after hours chat on the new server, not the old server. Last night we went to the old server by accident. Can we go on to the new one? I will shut down the old server soon, so please don't use that, because I don't want you to lose precious memories and precious messages. Graham, you should edit your Putin pictures. Some red cheek and lipstick will convert Putin to the queen he always wants to be. Maybe so. So thank you so much for watching. Like I say, I'll be back tomorrow on the Graham Hughes Travels channel for Hughes of the World, Congo. Please join me for that. Until then, I'll say thanks for watching. Hello, good evening, welcome, and goodbye.